So today we will be discussing about the GCD and LCM, that is greatest common divisor and least common multiple. So GCD, I think in your school you have heard it as HCF, the highest common factor of two numbers. So instead of calling it as HCF, we'll call it as GCD, that is the greatest common divisor. So before discussing the GCD and HCF, I'm going to tell you a thought process which you have to keep in mind, right? That thought process will be very, very helpful to understand today's entire lecture. So you try to maintain that thought process, and that thought process is nothing but the fundamental theorem of arithmetic, which we have discussed. The fundamental theorem of arithmetic. So for today, you keep this thought process in mind. What does the fundamental theorem of arithmetic says? It says that every natural number greater than 1 is a product of primes. Is a product of primes. This is what the fundamental theorem of arithmetic says. For example, if you have 24, you can prime factorize it. Prime factorize means you can express it as product of primes. So 24 is 2 cube into 3, right? You can do this prime factorization and finally you will get 2 cube into 3. For example, let us say we have 36. 36 is 2 square into 3 square. Fine. Let us say we have 35. This is nothing but 5 into 7. So every number greater than 1 is nothing but a product of primes. So basically every number can be written as multiple of primes. So now you should think that everything is nothing but primes only here. So every number you write it as just one prime into other prime into other prime and so on. Now let us discuss one more important idea, or you can say the thought process, which will be helpful to understand today's lecture. So you have already learned fractions, right? For example, say I have 15 by 6. Then this is a rational number, but now you can cancel this. You can cancel something in 15 and something in 6, and you can reduce it, right? So what you do is you do 3 2s are 6 and 3 5s are 15. You write it as 5 by 2. Right? This thing you have done in your school. For example, you have say 35 by 15. Now you can cancel this. 5 3s are 15, 5 7s are 35, and you write this as 7 by 3. Right? This is what you have done in your school. Now let us try to understand why this cancellation was possible. Because say 15 by 6 is nothing but 15 you write as product of primes. 15 is what? It is 3 into 5, and 6 is 2 into 3. So now this primes 3 and 3 got cancelled, and finally you got the answer as 5 by 2. Fine. And similarly 35 by 15, it is nothing but 35 you write it as primes, it is 5 into 7, and 15 you write it as product of primes, so it is 3 into 5, and this 5 and 5 got cancelled and you got 7 by 3. Now can you cancel this 7 by 3 further? Can you reduce this 7 by 3 further? No, you can't reduce it, because that is not possible, because 7 and 3 are already primes. So one prime cannot cancel other prime, right? This number 3, which is prime, this cannot cancel other prime, which is 7, right? You try to understand this, that one prime cancels the same prime, it cannot cancel other prime. For example, if I have say 36 by 49, right? Now can you reduce this 36 by 49? No, it is not possible. Why? Because 36 is what? It is 2 square into 3 square, right? And 49 is 7 square. Now are there any primes common here? No primes common in 2 square into 3 square and 7 square, right? There is no prime common. So you can't cancel anything in the numerator and denominator. Fine. Because there is no prime which you can cancel. So same primes gets cancelled, right? You can't cancel 3 square and 7. I mean, they will not get cancelled. For example, let us say I have, for example, 7 by 3. Now you can't cancel 7 by 3, right? You can't cancel something in 3 and something in 7 because these are already primes. And no matter how much big you have, I mean, let us say you have 5 times 7, or say 7, 8, 9, 10 times you have 7, and denominator you have 3, right? Now, even in the numerator you have so much big number, still you can't cancel here because 3 is different prime and 7 is different prime, right? So different primes can't cancel each other. That is the thing which you need to remember. That is the thing which you need to understand. Only same primes can cancel each other, right? For example, you have 2 square into 3 cube into 5 square by say 3 into 5 into 7 square into 11, right? Now this you can reduce it. Why? Because you have similar primes, right? There is 3 here and there is 3 cube here. So you can cancel 1 3 and you'll get 3 square in numerator. And there is 5 here, there is 5 square here. So you can cancel this 5. But you can't cancel 7, right? Because there is no 7 prime in the numerator. You can't cancel 11 because there is no 11 prime in the numerator, right? In the numerator you have a prime named 2. And in denominator there is no 2, so you can't cancel this 2 with something in the denominator, right? So what happens here is you'll get 2 square as it is into 3 cube by 3, you'll get it as 3 square, and 5 square by 5 you can write it as 5, and the denominator will be 7 square into 11. Fine. So now you can't reduce it further because there is no primes common here, so you can't cancel anything. Fine. So the only idea which you need to capture or which you need to understand is that different primes cannot cancel each other, right? Different primes cannot cancel each other. Fine. Only same prime cancels each other. Fine. That is a prime p can cancel powers of p only, right? For example, if you have p power 5 by some p power 2, so this you can write it as p cube. But if say there is different primes, right? Suppose say p comma q are distinct primes, fine, then p power 5 by q or q square, you can't reduce it further, right? Can't be reduced further because there is no prime common. These are distinct primes, means different primes, right? P and q are not equal and they are primes, so you can't cancel here, right? That is the idea which is important for today's lecture. Fine. So this is it, that first thing you need to understand is that every natural number greater than 1, it is not a natural number, it is product of primes. You think it in this way, it is nothing but a product of primes, and same primes only cancel each other, right? Different primes can't cancel each other. That is the two, these are the two ideas which you need to remember, right? Here p power 5 and q square, why they are not cancelling? Because there is nothing common here, right? For example, if I take 2 square into 3 cube into 5 square into 7 power 13 by 11 into 17, right? This can't be reduced further. This can't be reduced further because there are no primes common in numerator and denominator. There are no primes common in numerator and denominator. Fine. So if there are primes common in numerator and denominator, then only you can cancel, right? If there are no primes common, how can you cancel something? So this can't be reduced further because I mean there is 11 here, there is no 11 here, right? So 11 you can't cancel with any, I mean 5 square, or even it is 5 power 100, then also you can't cancel anything because these are different primes. Fine. So I think now the idea is crystal clear. First idea is every natural number, you think it in terms of product of primes. Second idea, different primes can't cancel each other, right? If two primes, if two numbers are cancelling each other, it means there is some common prime in between them, right? Because say 15 by 6 you have, then you can reduce it further because there is a prime 3 which is common to 15 and common to 6, right? So these two ideas are crystal clear. Now let us move on to the topic, that is greatest common divisor and least common multiple. So to introduce greatest common divisor, first let us introduce what is a common divisor. What is a common divisor? So say D is called a common divisor of A and B, right? All these are natural numbers, D, A and B. So number theory means we are discussing about natural numbers or integers only. So D is called a common divisor of A and B, right? Here D, A and B are integers, right? Not natural numbers, they can be integers also. So D is called a common divisor of A and B if D divides A and D divides B, right? Common divisor means what? It should be a divisor of A and it should be a divisor of B, then only it is common divisor. Fine. For example, say you have 25 and 125, right? So what are the divisors of 25? Divisors of 25 are plus minus 1, plus minus 5 and plus minus 25. And similarly divisors of 125 are plus minus 1, plus minus 5, plus minus 25 and plus minus 125, right? So what are common divisors? Common divisors are, you can take 1, it is a common divisor, anyways 1 is always common, and you can take 5 as a common divisor, minus 5 is common divisor, minus 25 is common divisor, 25 is also common divisor, right? So all these are common divisors of 25 and 125, right? But 125 is not common divisor because 125 is divisor of 125 but not of 25. So all these numbers are common divisors of 25 and 125. Let us take one more example. So say A is a number which is 2 square into 3 cube into 5 square, and B is a number, say this is 2 into 3 square into 5, right? So can you or say this is into, instead of 5 let us write here 7. So can you tell me common divisors of A and B? I mean, there are so many common divisors of A and B. I'm not asking you to tell all the common divisors, but at least some, right? 2 is a common divisor, agreed. Minus 2 is also common divisor. And in fact, 2 into 3 is also common, right? 2 into 3 you have here also, and 2 into 3 you have here also. And 2 into 3 square is also common, right? 2 into 3 square you have here, and 2 into 3 square here also is present, right? And right, you can have say minus 3 square also, this is also common divisors. So there are so many common divisors. Fine. Now is say 5 a common divisor? Is 5 a common divisor of A and B? Is 5 a common divisor? No, because 5 is present in A, but 5 is not there in B, right? So 5 is a divisor of A. 5 is a factor of it. Surely it is true, but 5 is not a factor of B, right? Because it is not present in B only. So how it can be a factor of B? So it is false, right? The answer is no, because 5 divides A, but 5 does not divides B, right? So 5 is not common because 5 is present in A, but it is not present in B. So 5 is not a factor of B. Fine. Similarly, 7 is also not a common divisor. 7 is also not a common divisor of A and B. A and B. Fine. So now what is a common divisor, that is clear. So now let us move on to the greatest common divisor. Let us move on to the greatest common divisor. greatest common divisor, or GCD, right? In your school, you might have studied this as HCF. Fine. So, greatest common divisor, or let me just write it as GCD. GCD of two integers A and B, A and B, and at least one of them is non-zero. One of them is non-zero. Means you can't take both A and B are zeros. Okay. If A is zero and B is non-zero, it is fine. But both A and B should not be zero. That is, at least one of them is non-zero. Is denoted as GCD of A comma B. Okay. This is the notation of greatest common divisor. Or you can simply just write A comma B also. This is also means the same, that is greatest common divisor of A and B, and it is nothing but the greatest possible common divisor of A and B. The greatest possible common divisor, the greatest possible common divisor of A and B. Fine. This is the definition of GCD, that it is nothing but the greatest possible common divisor of A and B. Right. The maximum thing which is common in A and B, that is GCD of A and B. And this is the notation. You can write GCD of A comma B, or simply you can write this also. This also fine. So let us take an example. Say if A is equals to 25 and say B is equals to 125, then what is the greatest common divisor? Right? Divisors of A we know that are plus minus 1, plus minus 5, plus minus 25. And similarly, divisors of B are plus minus 1, plus minus 5, plus minus 25, and plus minus 125. Right? So now among all these divisors, what is the greatest one and the common one? Right? You know what is a common divisor? Common divisor is nothing but a divisor which is common to both. And among those common divisors, right, 1 is common, minus 5 is common, 5 is common, 25 is common, minus 25 is common. So among all these common divisors, the greatest one is 25, right? So common divisors are so many, right? Are plus minus 1, plus minus 5, plus minus 25. But among all these common divisors, the greatest is 25, right? So this means GCD of 25 and 125 is how much? 25. Or simply you can write 25 comma 125 is equals to 25. This means GCD only. Fine. So I think this is clear. There are so many common divisors, that is fine. But among all these common divisors, which is the greatest one, which is the largest one? It is 25, right? You don't take minus 25 as the greatest common divisor, because by definition, greatest common divisor, we always consider it as positive only. Fine. So this is the greatest common divisor. Let us take one more example. Say A is equals to 2 square into 3 cube into 5 square, and B is equals to say 2 into 3 square into say 7 square. Fine. This is A and this is B. So tell me, what is the greatest common divisor of A and B? Right? There are so many common divisors of A and B. I am not writing all those. Just I am writing the greatest possible common divisor of A and B. Right? Greatest possible common divisor of A and B. Yes, tell me, what can be the greatest possible common divisor? Right? So let us talk in terms of prime 2. So in prime 2, 2 is common in A and B, right? Only 2 is the greatest common. And in 3, what is greatest common? 3 square is common to both A and B, right? So 3 square is the greatest common in A and B. And is there anything else? No, right? Because 7, it is there in B, but it is not in A. And 5, it is in A, but it is not in B. So neither 5 is common and 7 is common. So greatest common divisor is this only. That is, you can have 2 common and you can have 3 square common. That's it. You can't have 3 cube common. So this is common. This is the greatest common divisor. This is 3 square is 9. So this is 18. Fine. So the greatest common divisor of A and B is nothing but 18. Let us take one more example. Say you have A is equals to 2 cube into 5 square into 7 cube into 11, and say you have B is equal to 2 power 4 into 3 square into 5 into 7 square into 13 cube, right? This is A and this is B. You need to tell me the greatest common divisor, that is GCD of A and B. So try to understand. The greatest common divisor means in each and every prime you find the greatest common thing. So in 2 cube is common, right? Greatest common is 2 cube. So 2 cube is common. And in 3 nothing is common because 3 square is there here, but 3 is not in A. And in 5 what is common? 5 is only common because here it is 5, here it is 5 square. So the maximum common thing is 5 only. And in 7 square, here it is 7 cube. So maximum common thing is how much? It is 7 square. And in 11 nothing is common, right? And in 13 also nothing is common. So this is the greatest common divisor. So this is 8 into 5 into 49, right? So this is 40 into 49. So I think this is 1960. This is 1960. So this is the GCD of A and B, right? Is this clear? Yes. So yeah, let us take one more final example. Say A is 2 power 5, 3 square, 7 cube, and say B is 3 square, 1, sorry, not 1, 3 square, and say 7 into 13 into 19 into 23 into 31. So all these are primes, right? 13, 19, 23, 31, all these are primes. So yes, now what is the common between A and B, right? What is the common thing between A and B? So there is no common thing in 2, right? Here it is 2 power 5, but 2 is not present in B only. So in 3, the common thing is 3 square, right? It is common to both A and B. And in 7, the common thing is 7, right? And nothing else, right? 13, 19, 23, 31, these are not in A. So this is nothing but 9 into 7, this is 63. Fine. So I think this thing is clear, that what we are doing to find greatest common divisor, we are taking maximum common in each and every prime. We have taken maximum common in 2, maximum common in 3. In 3 nothing is common, then maximum common in 5, and maximum common in 7, right? So this is the greatest common divisor of A and B. So this is how you need to find it. So now let us do some examples. So find GCD of say 36 and 54. So how will you find GCD? First you need to prime factorize it, right? So first I have discussed this technique, right? You find all the divisors of 25 and 125 and then you find the GCD. You don't do that. You do by this technique, that is prime factorizing A and B, right? So first you need to prime factorize it. So first let us prime factorize 36 and 54. So again I'm doing the prime factorization. We have already discussed how to prime factorize, but still again. So you can see that 2 is the smallest prime and 2 is a factor of 36. So 2 18s are 36 and 2 still is a factor of 18. So 2 9s are 18. Now 2 is not a factor of 9, right? So we'll move to the next prime. It is 3. So this is 3 3s are 9, and finally we have all the primes. So 36 is nothing but 2 square into 3 square, right? We have 2 times and 3 2 times. Now let us prime factorize 54. So 2 is common. So 2 into 27 is 54. And then 2 is not a factor of 27. So 3 is a factor. So 3 9s are 27 and 3 3s are 9. So we have 54 is equals to 2 into 3 cube. Now clearly you can write the GCD of 36 and 54. The maximum common thing in 2 is 2 only. And in 3 you can have 3 square is the maximum common. So it is 2 into 9. This is 18. Fine. Yes. So now if you see common divisors, right? Common divisors are so many, right? Common divisors of 36, 54 are 2 is a common divisor, right? 3 is a common divisor. 2 into 3 is a common divisor, and 2 into 3 square. This is the final common divisor. 3 square is common divisor, right? These are the common divisors. So you can also notice that each and every common divisor, right? 2, 3, 2 3s are 6. This 2 into 3 square, 3 square. All these each and every common divisor is a factor of the greatest common divisor, right? Because you can see that 2 is a factor of 2 into 3 square, 3 is a factor of 2 into 3 square, 2 into 3 is also a factor of this. So each and every common divisor is a factor of greatest common divisor, right? So here we are having an important observation. What is the observation? That each and every common divisor of A and B, each and every common divisor of A and B is also a divisor of GCD of A and B, right? The common divisors 2, 3, 2 into 3, these all are divisors of GCD of A and B. Fine. So in other words, if GCD of A comma B, if I denote this by G, and if D divides A and D divides B, it means what? D is a common divisor of A and B. That is, D is a common divisor of A and B. Then D is also a divisor of G, that is D divides C. Fine. So this is the thing which we have observed, that every common divisor is also a factor of greatest common divisor. That if D divides A and D divides B, then D also divides G. Fine. Yes. So let us do one more example. Say find GCD of say 24 and 58. 24 and 58. So again, you can pause the video and try this. Yes, so let us discuss. So we'll prime factorize 24, right? 24, 2 12s are 24, 2 6 are 12, 2 3s are 6. So 24 is 2 cube into 3, and 58 2 into 29, right? 29 itself is a prime. So 58 is 2 into 29. So clearly GCD of 24 and 58 is nothing but 2 only, right? Nothing else is common. There is no 29 here, there is no 3 here, and in 2 only 2 is common. Fine. Yes. So let us move further, and now we'll discuss some properties of GCD. Let us discuss some properties of GCD. So while discussing each and every property, you just keep those two ideas in mind, which I told you at the beginning of this lecture, that every number is nothing but you consider it as product of primes, and same primes only can cancel each other, right? Different primes cannot cancel each other. So first is nothing but GCD of A comma B is always greater than or equal to 1, right? That is, we consider only the positive thing as GCD, right? The negative thing we don't consider it as GCD. Second, GCD of A comma B is nothing but GCD of A comma minus B. This is also GCD of minus A comma B, right? This is also GCD of minus A minus B, and this is also GCD of mod A and mod B. Fine. So I mean, you can easily see this. So GCD of 18 and say what we did the example here, GCD of 36 and 54, right? So you can see that GCD of 36 and 54, this is nothing but GCD of 36 and minus 54, right? Because 54 and minus 54 will have same factors only now. The prime factorization is same, just a minus sign. This is also GCD of minus 36 and 54. This is also the same as GCD of minus 36 and minus 54. And this is nothing but mod A mod B is nothing but 36, 54. And the answer is 18 for all of these, right? Yes. Next property, GCD of A comma 0. This is nothing but mod A. And A is not 0 here, right? Because when defining GCD of A and B, I told that time only that at least one of them should be non-zero. That is, both A and B cannot be 0. So if I'm discussing GCD of A and 0, then at least A should be non-zero. So this is nothing but mod A only, right? Because every number is a divisor of 0, right? For example, GCD of 5 comma 0, this is nothing but 5, right? Because 5 also divides 5 and 5 also divides 0. Fine. So I mean, you can't have GCD of A as, I mean, you can't have GCD of 5 as more than 5. Fine. Next, for example, if I take GCD of minus 3 comma 0, this is nothing but 3 only. Fine. Next property, fourth one. So GCD of A comma B, this is definitely, this is less than mod A, right? Less than or equal to, and also it is GCD of A comma B is less than or equal to mod B, right? This, I mean, this is clearly visible because now it's time to think, right? Now you should think with those ideas that A is nothing but product of primes, right? P1 power alpha 1, P2 power alpha 2, and B is also product of primes, right? Some P power some beta 1, P2 power beta 2, and so on. Now, if you are taking the common thing here, that common thing, if you take, that will be less than mod A only, right? That will be less than A. It can't be more than A, because GCD is nothing but what? It is common divisor of A and B, and any divisor of A and B is always less than A, right? You can't have a divisor of A which is more than A, right? Because every divisor of A is less than mod A, or less than or equal to mod A, right? You can't have a divisor of A which is more than A. So if the divisor itself is less than mod A, then the common divisor will be definitely less, right? Because it is the common in A and B. So it will be definitely less than mod A, and it will be also less than mod B. Yes. Next, this is very important, that if, I mean, all are important only. So this is a definition more than a property. So if the GCD of A comma B is 1, then A and B are called co-prime numbers. Are called co-prime numbers. Fine. Or you can also call them relatively prime numbers. Relatively prime. If GCD of A and B is 1, then A and B are co-prime or relatively prime. For example, you can take any two primes, right? Between any two primes, there is nothing common, right? So you can take any two primes as an example. For example, 3 comma 5, GCD is 1. You take any prime, let us say 5 comma 11, this also GCD is 1. But I mean, you can take other than primes example also. For example, if I take, say, 15 and 4, this is GCD is 1, right? And 15 is not a prime, as well as 4 is also not a prime, but their common factor is 1 only, because 15 is what? It is 3 into 5, and 4 is 2 square. So you can see that no prime is common, so the common factor is 1. So the GCD of 15 comma 4 is 1. So 15 and 4 are co-prime numbers. 15 and 4 are co-prime. Also you can call them as relatively prime. Fine. So this is about co-prime and relatively prime. So here, if A and B are co-prime, then anything need not be prime, right? Then A or B need not be primes. Need not be primes. right? For example, you can take 15 and 4. Neither 15 is a prime nor 4 is a prime, but they are co-prime, right? So don't go by the name co-prime means the numbers are prime. No, the numbers need not be prime in themselves, but their common factor is 1. Nothing is common in them, so then they are called co-primes. Let us take one more example. If I take 2 into 3 square into 5 into 7, big number here, and 11 into 13 into 19 into 23 square. So no prime is common. So the common factor is 1, right? So these two numbers are co-primes or relatively primes. Yes. So let us move to the next property. And this is very important one. So if GCD of A comma B is say G, right? Then I can write A is some G into A1, right? And B is some G into B1, isn't it? You just start thinking with examples, right? A is nothing but, for example, 2 cube into 5 square into 7. And B is nothing but say 3 square into 2, sorry. Let us write it in order. 2 into 3 square into 7 square, right? So now what is the GCD? GCD is nothing but common thing, that is 2 into 7, right? So GCD G is a common factor of A and B, right? So A you can write as some G into something, and B is also G into something, because G divides A and G divides B, right? So you can write A as some G into A1 and B as G into B1, right? This is the meaning of common divisor, that number is G into A1 and B is G into B1. Next, the property is that what is A1 here? A1 is the left out thing, right? After you take away G from A, what is the left out thing? It is 2 square into 5 square, right? Because G is 2 into 7, I have taken A as G into A1. So A is this entire thing and G is this. So the leftover thing, that is A1, which is 2 square is left over and 5 square is left over. And in B, the leftover thing, let us call it B1, and that is nothing but 3 square into 7, right? These two things are left over. Now you see that there is nothing common in A1 and B1, right? There will nothing common between A1 and B1. So then GCD of A1 and B1 is always 1, right? A1 comma B1 are co-primes. Why this is happening? Because if something is common between A1 and B1, right, then that will also come as a part of GCD, right? Because let's say here you have some 11 and here you have some 11 square, right? Now 11 is common in A1 and B1, then this 11 should also be a part of GCD, right? If something still is remaining common even after taking the highest common possible, then if something still is left out common, then that should also be a part of GCD, right? That is not possible, that something is even left common after taking out GCD. Let us take one more example to show this. For example, A is some 3 square, 5 cube, 2 square, 7 square. And B is, let us say, 2 into 3 cube into 5 power 4 into 7. Now, what is the GCD here? GCD is nothing but 2 is common, 3 square is common, 5 cube is common, and 7 is common. Now, if you take out this G from A, the leftover thing is A1. That will be how much? It will be 2 into 7, right? Because 3 square is there in G and 5 cube is also there. So leftover thing is 2 and 7. And what is the leftover thing in B? That is B1. So 2 we have already taken as a part of GCD. From 3 cube we have able to take only 3 square. So 3 is left over. And from 5 power 4 we were able to take only 5 cube as a part of GCD. So 5 is left over and nothing else, right? 7 we took entirely as a part of GCD. Now you see that in these two nothing is common, right? Nothing common will be left in A1 and B1, right? Because if further common is left between A1 and B1, then that will already come in GCD only, right? So you can see clearly that GCD of A1 comma B1 is 1. Fine. So if GCD of A comma B is G, then I can write A as G into A1 and B as G into B1. Then GCD of A1 and B1 will be 1. Okay. So now let us prove it also formally. Now I am proving it formally. Fine. So what I'm saying is, if GCD of A comma B is G, and then I can write A is some G times A1 and B is some G times B1, right? Because G is a factor, common factor of A, and G is also a factor of B. So A is nothing but G into A1, and since G is also a factor of B, then B is also G into B1. So now let us say if GCD of A1 B1 is some K, right? If GCD of A1 B1 is K. Now this is very interesting. So say if GCD of A1 B1 is K, okay, it is not 1, then A is what? G into, okay. Now if GCD of A1 B1 is K, then I can write A1 as some K into A2, right? And I can write B1 as some K into B2, right? Because the K is the common factor of A1 B1, right? So A1 is nothing but K into some another number A2, and B1 is K into some another number B2. Fine. So now let us consider A. A is what? G into A1. So this is G into A1 is again K into A2. Fine. And B is nothing but G into B1. So B1 is nothing but further K into B2. Fine. So now you see what is common in A and B. What is the highest common in A and B? Right. Clearly G into K is common, right? G into K is a common factor. Or now I don't know whether G into K is only the common factor, because still now we have not proved that A2 and B2 are co-prime, right? That there is nothing common in A2 and B2, right? So there might be something common in A2 and B2 also. We don't know about that. So let us not make this statement. Okay, this is not true. So, but I can say that G into K is a common factor, of A and B, but G is what? G is the highest common factor. That is the greatest common divisor of A and B, right? So the G into K is a common divisor, and G is the greatest common divisor. So the common divisor should be less than or equal to greatest common divisor, right? Common divisor should be less than or equal to greatest common divisor. So G into K should be less than or equal to G. So then K is nothing but less than or equal to 1. But K is a natural number, right? We are taking K is what? Common divisor between A1 and B1. So that is natural number only. But it is less than or equal to 1. So what is the natural number which is less than or equal to 1? The only possible thing is K equal to 1, right? So finally we have proved that if something you take common between A1 and B1 as K, then finally you'll end up with K equal to 1 only, right? So there is nothing common between A1 and B1. The only thing common is that is 1. Okay. So I think this property is pretty much clear now. If GCD of A comma B is G, then you can write A is G into A1, B is G into B1. And in A1 and B1, you'll not have anything common. Okay. Try to think in terms of examples, right? A is a product of some primes, B is a product of some primes. If you have already taken the maximum common thing in G itself, how can there be some other common thing left in A and B, right? Excuse me. Fine. So nothing else is common in A1 and B1. That is the common factor of A1 and B1 is 1. Yes. So this is a very important property. That's why I've discussed it in detail. Next, the seventh property is that if D divides A and D divides B, and GCD of A comma B is G, then this implies that D also divides G, right? This we have already seen as an observation in the examples, right? If D is divides A and D divides B means what? That is D is a common divisor of A and B, then this must be a factor of the greatest common divisor, right? This is clear. I mean, you think in terms of example only. Say A is 2 square, 3 cube, 5 square, 7, and B is say 2 into 3 square into 5 into 7 cube, right? Now, what is the GCD of A and B? It is the maximum common thing you are taking out, that is 2, 3 square, 5 and 7. Now, if you take any common divisor, say D, say common divisor D is say 2 into 3, that will definitely be a factor of G, right? You can't have D a common divisor that is not a factor of G, right? So if you take any common divisor, definitely, I mean, all those things which are present in D, that will definitely present in G, because it is the greatest common divisor. We have taken the greatest possible things and we have formed G, right? So in any common divisor, the things which are present, that will definitely be already present in the greatest possible common divisor, right? So D will definitely be a factor of G. So next property, GCD of MA and MB, this is nothing but equal to GCD of M into A comma B. Fine. So M, you can consider it as a non-zero integer, a non-zero integer. Yes. So I mean, these are important properties which we have discussed. Sixth and seventh, that if D is a common divisor between A and B, and if GCD of A and B is G, then D is a definitely factor of G. And if GCD of A comma B is G, and you write A as G into A1, B as G into B1, then nothing is present common between A1 and B1. That is, GCD of A1 and B1 is nothing but 1 only. Fine. So these two properties are very, very important. And I think now you are clearly able to see with the help of examples. That's why I have told at the beginning of the lecture itself, you try to think in terms of two ideas, that every number is product of primes, right? And different primes only cancel each other. Sorry, same primes cancel each other. Different primes cannot cancel each other. So if you think that every number is product of primes, then this will be very easy to understand. Yes. So now we are discussing a very, very important property. This will form the basis for finding GCD using Euclid's algorithm, right? We have founded GCD by prime factorization. But if I give you to find GCD of large numbers, say if I give you 4, 5, 3, 6 and 7, 2, 9, 6, 3. Now if I ask you to find a GCD, by prime factorization you can do, but it will take a lot of time, right? So we have a Euclid's algorithm, which using that we can find the GCD. But the basis of that is this property only, which we are going to discuss. So the property says that GCD of A comma B is also GCD of A comma A minus B. Fine. So we will definitely prove it, but let us consider with example. Say A is 15 and B is 6, right? Then what is GCD of A comma B? What is GCD of A comma B? It is nothing but GCD of 15 and 6. This is 3, right? Because this is 3 into 5 and this is 3 into 2. So the common thing is 3. And A minus B is equals to 15 minus 6, which is 9. So what is GCD of A comma A minus B? This is GCD of 15 and 9. And this is 3 into 5. This is 3 into 3. So the common is 3 only. So you can see that these two things are equal. Fine. So now let us try to prove this. Let us try to prove this. So prove that GCD of A comma B is equals to GCD of A comma A minus B. Yes. So let us consider this. Let GCD of A comma B, it is G. Fine. So this means that G divides A and G divides B, right? And now first I will prove that G is also a common factor of A and A minus B. So first let us prove that G is a common divisor of A and A minus B, and afterwards we'll prove that this is only the greatest common divisor of A and A minus B. So since G divides A and G divides B, then we can say that G divides A minus B, right? Because we have learned the property in the divisibility of integers that if A divides, say, if a number D divides A and number D divides B, this implies that D divides a linear combination of A and B, right? Ka plus Lb. This we have studied in the first lecture itself. So if G divides A and G divides B, then G must also divides A minus B, right? That is, if G is a factor of A and G is a factor of B, then A minus B is also a multiple of G. That is, G is a factor of A minus B. So clearly G divides A and G divides A minus B, right? This thing we already proved. Now we will prove that G itself is the greatest common divisor, right? So let us do that. So since G divides A and G divides B, or since GCD of A comma B is G, this means I can write A is some G into A1 and B is some G into B1. And the greatest common divisor of A1 B1 is how much? It is 1, right? This I can do by property 6. Then I can say that A minus B is what? It is G into A1 minus G into B1. That is nothing but G into A1 minus B1. Fine. So now you know that the GCD, the A minus B is nothing but G into A1 minus B1, and A is nothing but G into A1. So finally we'll prove that GCD of A1 comma A1 minus B1, this will prove to be 1, right? So first let us assume that this is D. Fine. If GCD of A1 and A1 minus B1, it is D. So let me just repeat what we have done. So it was given that GCD of A comma B is GCD of A comma A minus B. This we needed to prove. So we assume that GCD of A comma B is G. So this implies I can write A is G into A1 and B is G into B1. This I can write, and I know that GCD of A1 and B1 is 1. So then I have also proved that G divides A and G divides B. This means G divides a linear combination of A and B. So G divides A minus B, right? So G is a common factor of A and A minus B. That is what we have proved. Now we have to also prove that G is itself the greatest common divisor. So A is nothing but G into A1 and A minus B is G into A1 minus B1. Now you can see that in these two things, A and A minus B, right? In these two things, A and A minus B, G is common, but I need to prove that in A minus B, A1 minus B1 and A1, nothing is common, right? If nothing is common in A1 minus B1 and A1, then definitely the maximum, that is the greatest common divisor, is G only. So my aim is to prove that the common divisor between A1 minus B1 and A1 is 1. That is what I'm trying to do. So for that, I have assumed that, let us say, the common divisor between A1 and A1 minus B1 is D1, right? Say D. Okay, let me also write our aim. So we will try to prove that GCD of A1 minus B1 and A1 is 1, right? Nothing is common in these two. That is what we need to prove. So we'll try to prove that this is 1. So for now, I don't know. I have assumed it as D. Okay. So what can I say? D divides A1, right? And D divides A1 minus B1. Fine. Now since D divides A1 and D divides A1 minus B1, this implies that D should also divides B1, right? Because D is a factor of A1 and D is a factor of A1 minus B1. This means that D should also be a factor of B1, right? This we have already discussed in the first lecture. So D divides A1 and D divides B1, right? But we know that GCD of A1 and B1, it is nothing but 1, right? We know this. So you can see that D must divides 1 because D is a common factor of A1 and B1, because D is common divisor of A1 and B1, right? So every common divisor should divide the greatest common divisor, right? We have written this from the fact that every common divisor should divide the greatest common divisor, and the greatest common divisor is 1 only, so D must divide 1. So what is the number which divides 1? It is nothing but 1 only, right? Therefore D must be 1. So finally what we are able to do is we have able to prove that this is 1. So this implies GCD of A1 minus B1 and A1 is 1. And we had A is G into A1 and A minus B is G into A1 minus B1. So you can see that GCD of A comma A minus B, it is also G, because G is common and in between A1 and A1 minus B1 nothing is common. So this is also G, and which is equal to GCD of A and B. Fine. So this property is very important. I'm repeating it again, and this is the base, or you can say this is the basis for the Euclidean algorithm which we'll be using to compute GCD. That GCD of A and B is equal to GCD of A and A minus B, right? So similarly, if I use it multiple times, right? Similarly, you can also prove that GCD of A and A comma B is equal to GCD of A comma B by the same logic, right? And also, if you repeat this process so many times, right, what you will get? GCD of A and A plus B is also A and A plus B, which is again A plus B, right? I've just repeated this process. Fine. So I mean, you can write that A comma A plus KB is equal to GCD of A comma B, where K is an integer. This property finally, which is very important. Okay, you can tell that this is 10th property, that GCD of A and A plus KB is nothing but GCD of A and B. Fine. This is a very important property. Next, let us, try to discuss some example on this. Say if I ask you to find GCD of any two consecutive integers, GCD of any two consecutive integers is 1, right? GCD of any two consecutive integers, it is 1, right? Why? Because let us take n and n plus 1. Now let us use the same logic that GCD of A and B is GCD of A and A minus B, right? So this is nothing but GCD of n and 1. And what is common between n and 1? That is 1 only, right? Because in 1 there is no prime, right? Between 1 and n, the maximum common thing is 1 only. So GCD of any two consecutive integers is 1. Let us take one more example. GCD of n plus 1 and n square plus 1, right? So this you can write it as GCD of n plus 1, and I can write this as, say, n square plus 1 minus n times of n plus 1, right? Because GCD of A comma B is nothing but GCD of A comma A minus KB. So that I have used this minus some multiple into this, right? I can do this. GCD of A and B is nothing but GCD of A and B minus some multiple lambda into n plus 1, and that I've chosen as n. Fine. So this is nothing but GCD of n plus 1 and n square plus 1 minus n square minus 1, right? Sorry, minus n square minus n. So this is nothing but GCD of n plus 1 and n minus 1, right? Or it was 1 minus n, but you can write it as GCD of n plus 1 and n minus 1, since GCD of AB is nothing but GCD of A comma minus B. So now again I'll use this property. I'll write it as A minus of B comma B. So this is 2 comma n minus 1, right? So you can see that GCD of n plus 1 and n square plus 1, we are able to reduce this to GCD of 2 and n minus 1. So what can be common between 2 and n minus 1? This will be 2 if n minus 1 also has 2, that is n minus 1 is even. And if n minus 1 itself is odd, then there is nothing common, right? Then it will be 1. Fine. Is this clear? But if this is even number, then you will have 2 as common in between 2 and n minus 1. And this is odd number, then nothing is common. So 1 is the GCD. Fine. So let us discuss one more property. Say 11th one. If D divides A and D divides B, then GCD of A by D and B by D, this is nothing but 1 by D into GCD of A comma B, right? So this you can prove it. This you can prove it. So it is simple, right? GCD of A by D, what I am considering is, let us say GCD of A comma B is G, right? So then I can write A is G into A1 and B is G into B1. Also, since D divides A and D divides B, this simply means that D divides G, right? Because every common divisor is also a factor of greatest common divisor. So I can write G is some D into some D dash, right? Because G is a multiple of D, so G is D into D dash. So now let us consider this GCD of A by D comma B by D. So A is nothing but G into A1 by D comma G into B1 by D, and G into A1 you can write it as, okay, G by D I can write it as D dash, right? G by D is nothing but D dash, and this is D dash into B1, right? And we know that GCD of MA and MB is M into GCD of A and B, right? And we know that GCD of A1 B1 is nothing but 1. This we have discussed already so many times now. So this is D dash, and again D dash is nothing but what? It is G by D only. Yes, D dash is G by D itself. So this is nothing but 1 by D into GCD of A comma B. Fine. So if D is a common divisor of A and B, then GCD of A by D and B by D is nothing but 1 by D into GCD of A comma B. So this is property number 11. One more property, I mean, we have already discussed it. If, or let us say, GCD of A by G comma B by G, this is one where G is GCD of A comma B. This we have already discussed, right? If GCD of A comma B is 1, then G is G into A1, B is G into B1, and we know that GCD of A1 and B1 is 1. There is nothing common left out after you take out the greatest common divisor, right? So A1 is nothing but A by G and B1 is nothing but B by G, right? So in A, if you take out G, dividing means taking out G, right? And in B also you take out the greatest common divisor, then nothing is common in between them. Nothing common is left. Fine. So now let us discuss one more important property. So this will be the basis for defining the test of divisibility of 6, test of divisibility of 12, and so on, right? So what is this property is that if, say, A divides B and C divides B, A divides B and C divides B, then AC divides B does not always hold true, right? AC divides B is not always hold true, does not always hold, right? For example, you can consider that, say, let us say 4 divides 12, right? This is true. And 6 also divides 12. This is also true. So my B is equals to 12, A is equals to 4, and C is equals to 6. But can I say 4 into 6 also divides 12? No, this is not true, right? Because 24 does not divide 12. Fine. 4 into 6 does not divide 12. Fine, this is wrong. AC does not divide B. This does not always hold true, but it might hold sometimes. Now we'll discuss when it holds. Fine. So that is a property that if A divides B and C divides B, also if GCD of A and C is 1, if GCD of A and C is 1, then I can say that AC divides B. Then I can say that AC divides D. Yes. Why it is true? Because see, A divides B means what? B by A is integer, right? This is the meaning of A divides B. And B by C is also integer. B by C is also integer. Fine. Now B by A is integer means what? Something is cancelling, right? A is cancelling some part of B and C is also cancelling some part of B, and nothing is common in A and C. So it means if I take AC together, then they will cancel some part, C will cancel some other part, because in between A and C nothing is common, right? Let us discuss this with example. Say I am saying B is 2 square into 3 square into 5. Okay, this is my B. Okay, and A is say 2 square, and say C is say 3 into 5. Fine. Now you can notice that GCD of A and C is 1, right? Notice that GCD of A and C is 1. Fine. Now you can see that A divides B, right? We can verify that A divides B and C divides B, isn't it? A is a factor of B and C is a factor of B. That is clearly visible. Now you can also see that AC divides B. You can also see that AC divides B, right? That is 2 square into 3 into 5 divides 2 square into 3 square into 5. This is true, right? Now why this happened? Because see, now you use the second idea which I have discussed at the beginning of the lecture, that different primes cannot cancel each other, same primes only cancel each other. Now A divides B means what? A divides B means B by A is integer, right? And C divides B means also B by C is integer, right? Now B by A is integer means what? See, B is 2 square, 3 square, 5, and A is 2 square, and here B is again 2 square, 3 square, 5, and C is 3 into 5. Okay. Now we are telling that nothing is common between A and C. You can see that nothing is common here between A and C. Now B by A is integer means this A is entirely in B, right? A is cancelling some part of B, and C is also cancelling some part of B, right? You can see that A is cancelling what? It is cancelling 2 square from B, and C is cancelling what? C is cancelling 3 and 5 from B. Now since A and C are co-prime, that is nothing is common between A and C, so A will cancel some other part of B and C will cancel some other part of B, right? A is cancelling this 2 square part and C is cancelling 3 square into 5 part. These will cancel different parts of B because there is nothing common between A and C. So even if I multiply AC together, that will easily cancel B, right? So since you can notice that since A and C are co-prime, A and C are co-prime, that is nothing is common between A and C. A and C cancels different parts of B, right? A and C cancels different parts of B. So this means that if I multiply AC, the AC will also cancel B. AC will also be a part of B only, a part of B. AC will also be a part of B, or I can say AC will also completely cancel B. Completely cancel B. That is, AC will definitely divide B. Fine. I think now this is very clear. You try to think in terms of example. I'm repeating this again because this is very, very important. See, A divides B means what? B by A is integer. and C divides B means B by C is integer. Now A and C, there is nothing common between A and C. B by A is integer means this A is cancelling some part of B, right? A is entirely present in B and C is also entirely present in B. Then only this is integer, right? C will get completely cancelled in B. So A is completely present in B and C is also completely present in B. But since A and C are co-prime, this factor which is of A which is present in B is different from C which is present in B, right? So A and B will cancel different things because A will cancel 2 square part and C will cancel 3 into 5 part only. So if I multiply these two together through 2 square 3 5, then this will also cancel B, right? Because this will take care of this and this part will take care of this. Fine. So I think this is very clear. And if A and C GCD is not 1, as you can see here, GCD of 4,6 was not 1, right? GCD of 4,6 was not 1, it is 2. So that's why you can see that A into C, that is 24, was not a factor of 12. Fine. So I think this property